What's going on, people? Welcome back to our Draco reaction vlogs. And if you don't get to like, subscribe, and also leave a comment on the video, it would definitely help out my channel. So it's been a while since I've last done a video. What's going on with Spurs right now this season? And last year, exactly a year ago, Spurs were literally 14th under Ange Postecoglou's second season. This year, I'm not seeing any changes. Right now, to this date, they're now 14th with a new manager. But the reason he got to 14th for both last season and this season is different. Under Ange, it was basically high defensive line as well as conceding from crosses, set pieces, and of course a single through ball. One through ball through the middle. That's how we're conceding goals and most of the time losing games under Ange last season. With Thomas Frank in charge, it is a bit different. We still have some parts of Ange's defensive ball that's we're conceding, such as not marking crosses, sometimes one through ball through the middle. But however, we just set up to defend, not to win, but also not to lose. Which I'm not surprised, given that guy that we got from Brentford this season is literally a mid-table manager. You can play any team. Forget about big teams such as Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, and them. Just put up any decent team, such as Brentford, Bournemouth. That guy was set up not to lose. He was set up to make sure we can see us out. Basically, his tactics are long throws, playing across the ball, so as depending on corners and set pieces to get us goals, which I don't mind because we used to not do that on range. At the same time, we aren't creating anything from open play. And funny thing is, last season we used to panic once a set piece, we can see a set piece, or we can see a cross or something. This season, it's like after we score, we panic. It's like when we score first and go ahead, it's like we're in the 90th minute of a game against Real Madrid or something, because we just get behind the ball and try to see this one out. However, any decent team or a team that's struggling can still continue to attack to go for a goal. And that's why we've been seeing results like this so far. The last couple games after I covered Forest in December were a disgrace. We lost to Liverpool, disgrace. Palace, it also disgrace. Brentford away, disgrace. Sunderland, disgrace. Bournemouth away, disgrace. Aston Villa in the FA Cup, disgrace. And most recently, West Ham, disgrace. I know we beat Palace, which was literally the only game we won in the Prem so far. However, that game was boring. It was like watching an average Major League Baseball game. It was just so boring to watch after we scored. But we stunk out a win against Palace. However, we couldn't even pick up points. We were just dropping points, like we're a charity match or something, towards our remaining games. And even then again, I don't think Frank is all of the problem. I've seen this happen with the club before, different managers. Bournemouth haven't won in 11 games. We show up and hand them 3 points. West Ham haven't won a game in that much and they're struggling. We allow them to come to our place and give them 3 points. Yep, so that's basically our DNA. However, and I know I said earlier in the summer when we got Frank, I said, as much as I don't think he's the man for the job. If he gives me a trophy within 2 years and play better football defensively and offensively, then I'll say he's better than our last manager. However, the guy hasn't won anything in his career, and when he was happy that we drew 0-0 to Brentford away, his own former club, which, funny enough, they are actually doing better without him. They're literally in a position for a European spot as of right now. I think he should have been sacked. Frank should have been. That was the one to say he should have gone immediately because we were just dropping points. Same thing happened to Sunderland, and same thing happened to Bournemouth, and recently, same thing happened to West Ham. We just dropped points, and we're dropping points to teams that we should go out there and beat them easily because we just have more silverware than them. And even though we're not able to compete that much, if we want to be a better club, we should beat those smaller mid-table clubs ahead of us. He should have been sacked after West Ham, Frank. Speaking of games, we got Burnley away in City. I would prefer to see the team go out there and get 3 points for both. However, we could potentially find out if Burnley, if we keep on messing around. If we drop points to Burnley, there's no excuse now. He should have been sacked earlier. But if the board ain't sacking him, then after Burnley, he should have been sacked if we don't pick up points. However, while I agree that Frank has to take most of the blame for our results this season, at the same time, we have our ownership, sporting directors, our recruitment, and most of the higher up staff that are doing most of the work, and the scouting as well. And we can change managers like Antonio Conte say, but the situation never changes. How do we win the Europa League, our first ever trophy, 17 years, then don't necessarily build up upon it? We're actually in 5 competitions, however, never took them seriously. For example, in the Carabao Cup, we got kicked out by Newcastle earlier. In the Super Cup, we didn't do our job against PSG, especially when we were playing well for majority of the game. And in the league, of course, our home form is shocking, and that's why we're in that position in the first place. In the FA Cup, we got kicked out by Aston Villa in the FA Cup first round. Funny thing is, this is the second year in a row that we've gone out of the FA Cup against Aston Villa. Not surprising. And then we still have Champions League left to go. I just saw the Spurs Dortmund game, and the first 45 minutes, they're actually playing I expect will play well. I expect them to play like that in the earlier half of the game. However, after the first 45 minutes, the team really went back to always, and something about playing pretty well consistently is something that I am concerned about with the team. And we also got players that aren't necessarily I don't think are good enough to get us win the Champions League. Forget about Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and those European elites. Put up against the decent teams such as PSV, Napoli, Sporting, even Marseille, and then we will struggle, or at least we will panic when we go to knockout stages. I know we have one more game left in the playoffs, and if we win, we should be able to go to knockout rounds. But can a team do what it can do to at least try to get through all of the knockout stages to reach the final and go ahead and actually win it? For me, I don't think so. Because I don't think this team is good enough to win the Champions League. Specifically, board and as well as the higher up staff and recruitments, the sporting director, scouters, also haven't addressed the team's needs in both transfer windows yet. We need a 10. We missed out on some important deals such as Eze. Got Simmons, but however, the guy has been underwhelming so far and hasn't really put up a performance that actual 10 can do consistently. Got Kudus, who I think wasn't a bad signing. However, he is now injured, unfortunately. I think he Frank rammed to the ground, and basically, for the majority of the season, we're just depending on Kudus to do all of the work on the right. We also got Paulinho, which I think was a decent signing. However, at some games sometimes he plays good, sometimes he doesn't play good. And besides the permanent signings, we got Danso and Tell before Frank even got here. I just don't think they're good enough defensively, and for Tell, he just isn't consistent and he always misses chances. We also got the same thing happened with Colomwani, which thankfully we got him on loan. I just don't think he's good enough to finish his chances as a striker. And we also got some dead wood in the club as well that we haven't addressed, such as Richarlison, Johnson, Poro, Udogi, Bentancur, and Basuma. I just don't think these players are good enough to do their jobs. I know we got rid of Johnson, surprisingly, during the winter transfer window at Palace. However, we still haven't looked into a left winger for both the summer and the winter. Ever since we sold Son, that hand side is just anonymous. It's just like whoever starts on the left, we're like playing with 10 men essentially. Because none of them can figure out how to cross on a consistent basis as well as drive the ball forward on the left, take on players fullback, opposition's right back, essentially. And this winter transfer window, notice we got Gallagher and promising left back from the Brazilian Serie A. However, I don't think Gallagher is what we need specifically. I don't think he is our priority. I'm not saying he's a bad midfielder or anything. He came from Atletico Madrid. However, he isn't our priority. He isn't exactly what we needed. So we also and for the left back. I don't know how good he is, but for my viewers who watch the Brazilian Serie A, you guys let me know in the comments. If he can do a job consistently, then I'll say he was a good signing. However, I need to know how does he do in the Brazilian Serie A, which we signed him from. We're also looking to essentially signing Robertson, which I wouldn't say it's a bad sign, but last 2 seasons at Liverpool, we kind of fell off in terms of defending wise. But however, we still haven't found an attacking mid. We still haven't found no goalkeeper actually, because Frank ain't starting Kinski, and every time Cario's in there, it's like he likes making mistakes. It's like Spirit of Onana has passed on to him or something. So we need to go out for a new goalkeeper or let Kinski continue to start more matches. And at the same time, we also need a fullback and a center back. Romero isn't really doing good this season. I know we've been scoring a couple of goals from set pieces, but defensively, I think he's just awful. And as our captain as well, guy isn't a good leader on the pitch when things go sideways. So we definitely need someone else to take the captain armband from him on the team, as well as get a new center back option. Same for our fullbacks. Spence is probably the only good fullback in our team so far. Yogi got injured once when he searched, and then he's a shadow of himself. Poro played good for the first couple matches of the Frank season. Back to his always of just getting twisted out and letting attackers take on him. So, but again, all of this comes down to just recruitment in general. Recruitment and ownership and sporting directors and scouting. Because if they ain't going to change and look into new players, just don't think the club's going to change at all, if you think about it. And I'm not surprised why managers have come and gone from our club, why we've hired and fired managers, as well as the ownership too. I think the ownership also should take a blame for the season, because while I understand last season we finished 17th, however, we won silver, which is what the club hasn't done in a while. And to fire a manager who won you silverware and then replace him by buying out a mid-table manager from Brentford and Thomas Frank, buying out Frank from his contract, and to expect him to be a manager to compete on all French, which was the reason why we sacked Ange Postecoglou, just doesn't make sense for me. But then again, we are a mid-table club, so maybe this is the reason why we hired Frank, maybe to put us back in our mid-table position. Then again, at the same time, if Frank goes, which I suspect it could happen soon, or if the worst case, maybe somewhere during his second season, if they ain't going to sack him in the first season, the ownership should go as well as all of the higher up staff. So we can start again fresh, control, delete the club, and see if we can be more ambitious, if we can have some more ambition, because as far as it goes, it'll probably be another 17 years until we pick up another silverware. The way that things are going. I know Vinay just got here. I know the guys are CEO, but he can also go as well, because I just don't see the club going in the right direction. No, Daniel Levy was the one who fired Ange Postecoglou and hired Thomas Frank. But however, he left already. But at the same time, he was just part of the problem as well. Even though for the majority of the time he was here, he was making decisions that couldn't put the club into a position where they can compete for silverware. We got brand new stadium, brand new training facility. Thankfully, we have a Europa League, so it's no 18 years, no trophy. However, we're not really building up from it from what I expect, and it's just going to be the same with Spurs. I don't see us factually winning anything this season unless if we go out there and actually take the Champions League seriously. And if we continue to start winning games from here, I can just factually see us winning, or not winning, finishing in the Conference League spot at best. But we will see what happens. We got Burnley this weekend in City, and hopefully we can finish up the Champions League with a win against Frankfurt to see where we're going to be at in the knockout stages. On that, thanks for watching. It's been a while since I've done a video, Spurs, but happy to get back into the routine, and we're going to see how things go against Burnley on Saturday. Peace out.